Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Happy Monday, October 26th. We are in the thick of it, y'all. Games 1 through 5 already completed of the World Series. Baseball's off today, but it is back with Game 6 tomorrow. I'm Julie Alexandria from Slam Diego with Jennifer Mercedes in New Jersey and Ozzie Guillen Jr. in Chicago. How are you, my friends? How was your weekend? How's your World Series viewing?
Good, late.
Right?
It's going well. It's going well. A lot of. I'm surprised that we're still in this series, but very good baseball. It's been fun. I'm kind of upset because I know how many games are left, even if we go to a game 7, and that's always like a very sad departure from the season being done. But we're here, and it's been great baseball.
Yeah, it's incredible. At this point, you look back and see how many games have been completed, which is a feat within itself. The fact that during a pandemic, baseball was still being able to be performed and played. And here we are in the World Series, and you look forward to only 2 games remaining, possibly 2 games remaining, maybe just 1, depending. But it's almost very bittersweet. You just want to relish every crumb. We are about to get started here with a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the games. We're going to break down Game 4 and all the craziness that was, as well as what it means to be stealing home during World Series, Clayton Kershaw, all of that good stuff. But first, we have an awesome announcement to make, and I'm going to hand it over to Jen to bring this one to your plate.
Yes, so I'm super excited to announce we have a new project in the works coming out very, very soon. It's called Más que un Juego, and Más que un Juego is a show for you, the fans, but it's also a show for the Latino players to be able to express themselves. Most recently, the first show that will come out is with Mr. Luis Tiant, Edgar Martinez, and Vlad Guerrero. So, I mean, just with them alone and the legends that they are, it's going to be an awesome show. And then for episode 2, I had the chance to talk to Robinson Cano, Nelson Cruz, and Felix Hernandez about a number of things, including discrimination in baseball, the discrimination that they face, what it means to them to have Latino representation in baseball, amongst many other topics. So I'm so looking forward for all of you to be able to enjoy that as much as I did conducting the interviews.
Yeah, and Jen, you're truly trailblazing with this show because, first of all, how many times do we see documentaries or show features where you have ex-players, right? Players, guys who have moved on from the game, and then they come together in a roundtable setting or a panel, and they're able to talk about what it was like during their playing days. But in this show, we get to see current players and past players talk about their experiences, talk about what it was like, and for some in very recent memory, as recent as, well, this season that they had an opportunity to play in. And not only that, but we're getting to see the Latin guys have a moment to share their stories, to share their experience. I don't know about you, I've never seen anything like this being done, and I love that you are giving the attention to these guys that they so well deserve.
No, I love it as well. And I thank, La Vida Baseball and Teamworks Media for launching this amazing show. Jesse Menendez, shout out to Jesse on the production side as well. It's just been really a lot of fun to do. And during this particular time, during this pandemic, the times that we're living in, it's really interesting also to see their takes on life in general during these times. Luis Tiant you could talk to him for hours. He's got so many stories. I mean, we talked about the unwritten rules and the way, baseball is played today and the fact that players are able to voice their opinions, something that maybe they weren't able to do back in the day. He talked about, he didn't like throwing at guys' heads. He didn't like all that. He's like, unless you threw at one of my players and I got to back up my players. I mean, there's a great conversation that went on all around.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to it. And congratulations, Jen, on this new venture. We will definitely let you guys know more about where you can find it and when it airs. So let's talk about the games at hand, this World Series here in 2020. It's been weird, it's been fun, it's been crazy, but let's talk about a guy who is out for one mission, and that is to rectify his postseason reputation. Sure, there are jokes about, well, which Kershaw is going to show up, but when you look at the numbers, they don't lie. Clayton Kershaw pitching in Game 1 in a dominant performance, and then again pitching last night, just cruising. Sure, Dave Roberts took him out, and many took offense to that and took option with that, but here you have a guy who's 4-1. He's got the most strikeouts from a pitcher in a postseason. performance in the postseason. So at this point, has he done enough to rectify that postseason reputation as far as Kershaw is concerned? Jen?
Yes, I think so. I think that unfortunately we have seen some bad games that he has performed in the postseason, but there has been a lot of good. I think particularly with this season, the way that it's been, the way that Game 4 played out, he needed to come in and kind of be, put that hold, stop the blood, stop the bleeding, and he did that. He did exactly what he's supposed to do as an ace, and I'm so happy for him because I think, like I said before, and I've said it, and I think a lot of people have said it, a lot of what has gone on with him in the postseason has probably been just mental and kind of just getting over that hump, and he did it in spades.
Ozzie?
Imagine if Clayton Kershaw was Trevor Bauer.
You mean had that outwardly facing personality with very strong opinions?
Probably the greatest pitcher to take the mound in the last couple of years. I think that the last guy that I saw that was this good, with all respect to everybody else, is a Pedro Martinez. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Clayton Kershaw literally has carried the Dodgers, even though they don't have a ring, into a window that has expanded over 14 years of them fighting for a championship ring. Okay, he was there with Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier, and he's here now. His last two performances, let's say, because that's baseball, they get beat in the next two games. His legacy is cemented, and we've seen him be part of two sides of the story. They either take him out too early, and they feel like that's his fault because he wasn't left there. He's been brought in situations where we thought that he wasn't the guy. This guy's done it a long, long time. Inning after inning during the regular season, those numbers speak for itself. And I think he might have been a little bit exhausted when he got to the postseason. I think the managers in the past hadn't really given him that rest, and this season has allowed him to go into a postseason really fresh. And he's competed. Even the games that he lost, I think that he's been able to dominate. His strikeout record is there. And I think for the next couple games, I think that his team needs to take him to the next level. I do feel if they do win, I think that they should give him the MVP. He did what he had to do. He stepped up, first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to have next to his name a World Series, and he'll be completed. But I don't think anyone has any idea how good Clayton Kershaw is, even with all the missteps of World Series debacle. He's been there, he's performed, and this World Series especially, he has come and he has delivered.
That's a tough MVP call, though, Ozzie. I mean, I think he would have tough competition from Justin Turner and also from Mookie Betts, given their production.
Correct. And again, but it's you look at the two games that they won. He's been the winner. He's been the starting pitcher winner. Buehler's also going to do it, and I think a lot of people have helped on the offense. I think that Mookie's going to get help because he's done things without the bat defensively. Yeah. He also is Mookie, Twitter trending. And again, I've been saying this since the beginning. The Seager is another guy that should be considered for the MVP. They're going to go into games 6 and 7. Whoever gets the big hit is going to be the MVP. So Kershaw obviously already performed. So unless he comes in from the bullpen, but again, he wants that ring. It's going to get just the MVP is just something nicer and extra to have there. But he's also in the mix, and this postseason has been like that for the Dodgers. They've all stepped up. They've played amazingly, and the only game that they've seemed to have lost was a game that they lost because of mental mistakes. But Kershaw, and when it's all said and done, Kershaw has done his job this season. He has stepped up, he delivered, and if they get a ring, he has to be a big part of it.
Oh, for sure, he's a huge part of it. But I also think, speaking about as far as MVPs go and Mookie, I think with Mookie Betts, it's something else extra that he brings. It's not just his talent on the field, but it's him, his presence, and him having the wherewithal to be able to speak to these players. And I think he was the missing piece for this team. As much as they have, Clayton as a leader, I think Mookie has become an additional leader to this team. And I think it speaks to, you see the chemistry that they have, that team chemistry that has always been needed. And him, I believe it was at the beginning of the season, he asked if he could address the team, but he first wanted to ask or let Clayton know that he was going to do this because he knows Clayton's place on this team. But him knowing kind of what he could bring to this team, I think is so important, and it shows.
Ozzie, speaking of team dynamics and just sort of clubhouse chemistry, how hard is it for a pitcher to be a leader in the clubhouse, not being an everyday player? I mean, sure, Clayton Kershaw has all of the accolades and, of course, the 10-year veteran guy, future Hall of Famer, no doubt. But when it comes to the chemical makeup of a team, much easier to have an everyday player, right?
It is. I don't believe leaders, I'm talking now from a Clubhouse standpoint. A lot of people think leadership are the guys that stand up on the top step and they clap, they high five guys, they give like rah-rah. Some guys are not like that personality-wise. I think that Mookie Betts and Clayton Kershaw, in my opinion, the reason that I consider them leaders is they bring the same gym bag every day to the stadium. What I call the same gym bag is every day, spring training, regular season, postseason, it's the same bag. You know what you're going to get from them. They lead by example. They're there. They're grinding. They're playing. They're not complaining. They bring out the best that they can for their team. That's what a leader is. A leader's not a guy that bat flips, not a guy that high fives, not a guy that makes the most money, not the guy with the best car or the best looking guy or the guy that says, or the toughest guy. I've seen all of them in a clubhouse. I think a leader does not have to be vocal. It could be a guy that he does it by an example of when I am not performing well, what am I doing for this team to step up? We've seen it with Mookie in previous series, playing defense, using his speed, Clayton stepping up. And again, I think that's what leadership is going there and showing up every day. And game recognizes game. Mookie wants to talk to Clayton because even if Clayton's not a voice, as a voice, you mean an out loud voice in the clubhouse, he knows that he is the head honcho there and that, he has to ask him for respect. And I love it. And I think Clayton's one of those guys that he doesn't have to be the guy. He is Clayton Kershaw. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think that for him, he needs to be that guy. I need to be the number one guy. I need to be this. He has nothing to prove. Okay. That's why I brought the Trevor Bauer thing. Like, Trevor's a great pitcher, but he has a lot to prove. Clayton's past that point in his career. And I think that's it's a great combination. And if they win this year, we're talking about, can they repeat?
Yeah. Because
they're both back on the team. The team, has a lot of flexibility. They're going to come back, I think, and be the best team in that division. So, again, the window's opened, and now they're opening it to the next level. The next side part of can we do this in a couple of years? So I think that you could be a leader and not be the main guy. But it is harder for a pitcher. But when you're Clayton, you've been there for that long. You've been a Dodger for that long. That doesn't get to happen that much this day in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's talk about Game 4, quite possibly the craziest stuff we've ever seen in the conclusion. It spun out of control for the Dodgers. But what an incredible last, I would say, maybe 5 minutes of a game that has ever existed. I was not able to see. A lot of people on Twitter were saying, well, you weren't around to see the 86 Mets and Bill Buckner and, that whole moment. But
manager's fault.
Well, Ozzie, I love it. You were talking about it. You said Game 4, you likened it to a crime scene. Please elaborate.
It's like a crime scene. You got to see play by play what's happening. Look, this is what a leader doesn't do. What is he doing on his knees? Get up and get behind the plate. You didn't get blocked off. You didn't get Dennis Eckersley, Jim Mitchell, Gary, Carter, home run, walk off. That didn't happen. The reason I compare this to the Mets is ground ball to Bill Buckner. They never stopped the bleeding. No one went to get the ball. Everyone was just so shocked. The game is going on. When the first run comes in, that's the tying run. So this is a situation here. This is where analytics, computers don't teach you this. I hope that a coach got up on the top step and said to Taylor, I don't know why he's coming in to try that ball to home plate. The guy at second scoring with a base hit, he's got a huge lead. Jensen is horrible at holding runners, okay? Base hit to me means I cannot let Randy score from first base, okay? I don't care how fast he is.
It's possible, though, that he already saw him rounding and he could see.
No, not rounding. Outfield, you're in center field. They hit it to you, okay? You know the guy from second, okay? If you know your skill set, that guy's probably going to score. So your job is, I'm going to hit the cutoff man, which in this throw is Muncy, okay? Why is Muncy far to the right?
Correct.
Muncy needs to be by the pitcher's mound and more to the middle, and Smith's saying it. Why? Because then on that second throw, okay, you're too close on that Smith. Okay, so that's the Dodger part of messing up.
Okay. Tampa
Bay, third base coach, thank God that the Dodgers messed that up because Randy was going to be gunned down. Okay, over-aggressive third base coach right there. Perfect throw, Randy's gone. Even without him falling. So I think it was a play where the emotions get to you. Okay, and then the Jensen thing, he's done this like 10 times in his career. He never protects home plate, never does it. He said, I don't need to be back there. The horrible answer. You need to get back there, cover the plate. Again, it's knowing the situation of the game. Tie game, you have a great offense. You cannot let the winning run come in. So that's why Dave Roberts, we saw it. Dave Roberts lost it. The coolest guy in baseball literally threw his mask on, threw a tantrum because he just saw his team completely melt, from Taylor going too fast to the ball to make the throw, misplays it. Muncy, I have no idea why he was there. Okay, he's got to be closer to the pitcher's mound. Will Smith does not go for the ball the right way, kind of goes for it, makes the tag, but again, forceful. Everyone was lined up wrong.
He shifted right before catching.
Yeah, everyone's moved, everyone's tied, everyone's in the wrong position. You know, from Randy getting sent, and again, I think if this is 1970, we have a collision at the plate.
You know, Randy, he had an Instagram live yesterday, and he was on with Victor Mensa, and he asked him, he's like, "Yo, what was wrong with your feet?" And they're joking around, and he's like, honestly, he's like, I think I had to do that because it's what caused them to be distracted. And he's like, if you see, he's like, once I'm rounding and they see that I'm rounding, he's like, I caused that to happen. And that's what I think is part. I do think that there was a corner of their eye or something that caught Randy, and they were distracted, and they were like, oh no, like this is going to happen, because Ozzie, like you say, it's such an aggressive move that you wouldn't think would happen.
It's a dumb baseball move. But it made them. If the Dodgers are in the right position, Randy rounds third, Muncy cuts the ball. Oh, you just rounded third. You throw the ball to the plate, run down, game over. He was over aggressive.
I think as baseball people, right, when you're in it, as far as Linares goes, who's the third base coach, is it possible that he's seeing, number one, the fumble on the ball, right? Number two, he's also maybe noticing where these guys are all set up and thinking, you know what, Randy's already like jets on, he can make it. I think the most egregious error out of all of this was Jensen. I think that even if
you do that to save face.
No, even if he hadn't been able to catch the ball, right, by backing it up, at least had he been there, we're not thinking what would have happened, what could have happened. He was in no man's land. I was. You know why
the Dodgers don't have a lot of rings? Him. If the Dodgers would have got another closer and not treated him as like, we can't move this gentleman. The only pitchers, in my opinion, that I would never move are Trevor Hoffman and Mariano Rivera, two of the greatest closers, especially Rivera. But Jansen, they've kept him there, and he's been a liability year after year.
That bad though, right? I mean, in my opinion,
I'm talking about his career. He gets walked off more than Chapman. Okay, people just like Jansen more than Chapman. He gets walked off a lot. Look at the stats.
By that rationale, does Kenley have the same job? Does he still have the closer job next season?
If they win, maybe. I would bring somebody to compete against him if I want to repeat. That's such a crucial position. He already made his money. If I want to compete, I would bring somebody else. But here's the part also. Randy, the right answer Randy should have said, and this is what Ken Griffey Jr., because Ken Griffey Jr. scored from first base in the Yankees in the My Oh My game, is if they hit this ball, okay, I'm running like I'm scoring until my third base coach tells me to stop, okay? Because his jump was amazing. If you run the base the way that he did, and then you rely on your third base coach to send you on a missed play, that's why it was a bang-bang play. Again, they were aggressive. I think that Tampa is realizing we need to do things a little bit differently in order to win this series and be on the edge. And that's why they're playing like that. That's why I think Margot went for the steal, which I thought was a great move, an aggressive move. If it works, it pays off, it gets them back in the game. So I think that they're doing things a little bit different and playing more aggressive because they're seeing that they have to change the strategy, because the Dodgers are a more talented team. I don't care how you place it. They have more talent on the field. So they're trying to find ways to win, and it's paid off. That game was amazing. It paid off for them. The Dodgers, again, if you lose a series and you don't win the World Series because of that play, that's going to hurt. It's a very fundamental sound play. So, again, they bounced back, which I thought they weren't going to, and now they're back ahead in the series.
Yeah. Well, if anything, it was incredibly enjoyable to watch. We have some really great fan reactions that we want to share with you in case you missed it. Check this out.
Honestly, I was so happy. I am so happy that I don't have anything personally invested in any of these teams. Like, these weren't the teams that I personally like am rooting for all season long. I'm happy if either the Dodgers or the Rays win. But that game, I mean, I was like, thank God I am not like a diehard fan of either of these teams, because I would have had a heart attack just that entire game. And it was midnight and I'm in my room, and all of a sudden I'm like jumping. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I mean, the fan reactions are amazing, because I think we could all relate as baseball fans. I've been reading on social, people who are like, I'm a Yankee fan and I don't root for the Rays, but oh my God, what a game, and all that stuff. And although it was ugly, like we've been talking, it was beautiful to see the emotion and all of that. I mean, Brandon Phillips, God bless him. He was dehydrated from all of the energy, like the euphoria that he experienced in that moment. He had to get an IV and everything. So
I think, and Randy stole this moment because of him falling, but it was a great base hit. I felt bad for both teams. I thought it was awesome for Tampa fans. I felt bad for Dodgers fans. I'm a Dodgers fan. Base hit. I'm like, okay, runner on third, tie game. Get out, let us hit. But when that play started evolving, and then you see Tampa coming in, and then I was like, I stopped. I said, oh my God, he just fell. And then I said, okay, he's out. It was over.
At first. I didn't even see
his athletic ability, though, I got to give him credit for that. His intuition of stopping, like falling, stopping, and then going for it, I think was very impressive to do in that big moment of a game, of just going with your pure instincts. Because I think it really paid off. And I think that might have been something that the Dodgers, might have been thrown off by him doing that completely. But it was a big heads up play, and probably the best thing he's done on the field other than hitting the home runs, which again, he is the best player in postseason history.
I mean,
in MLB history.
It's incredible what he's been able to accomplish. Let's just talk about him for a moment. I mean, he now has the record for the most home runs ever hit in a single postseason. He's also got 26 hits, and he's set a new record for the most in postseason by a rookie. I mean, Fox is banking on this guy being a superstar. You can see it with the promos that they have poured into the pregame shows that are all about Randy. Wonderful that we finally got to see an on-field interview with him in Spanish. Thank you very much, MLB Network, that we got to hear from him. But just an impressive rookie right there.
Taking all the chances he wants. And I think that if this was 1990, he would definitely be a Yankee next year. Because I think he might be one of those players that turns it up he might be like that Jim Leyritz. He's produced. He's had great at bats. And again, I think that the game of baseball, when you look at someone like Randy in the game of analytics and the game of that, is a guy that they didn't have much stats on, not a lot of data, but he's always been good. He's hit well. Like everywhere he's played, he's succeeded. So he's those type of players that if you go and you give him the opportunity, they've shined, and he's done that. What he is doing. I think that the conversations among baseball individuals is hitting third is hard. Hitting third in the World Series, they're coming after you, okay? And doing it as a rookie is hard, but doing it as a rookie that no one knows who you are, the expectations, that pressure. Miguel Cabrera, future Hall of Famer, everyone thought the Marlins were crazy for hitting him third in the World Series in 2003, okay? Because how is he going to react? He's a kid. It's facing Roger Clemens. Everyone was like, that was a speculation. Randy's the same way. Like, he knows every single night that that's who they're going after. So for him to be able to deal with that pressure as a rookie and keep doing it, I thought he was gonna shut down in the World Series. Like, I was like, he might hit a couple hits, but I don't think he'll go deep again. It's just they're gonna pitch him harder, because you have to adjust with that. Like, they're gonna pitch you differently. They're not gonna throw anything at you. So I think that the fact that he's been able to still succeed while everybody knowing that he is the guy in that offense, kudos to him. That's just so much harder to do. That's why in postseasons you always see Derek Jeter getting the big hit, because they're not pitching to anybody else but Derek Jeter. So that's why these big moments like that, when you're the big man, it's really hard to succeed. And he is the big man for the Rays.
Now, and also, he's not only doing it with the bat, right? There's something about the way that just he plays. That take that he took against Jensen, that 1-2 pitch. I mean, that pitch was such a close pitch, and for him to be able to take that pitch, that was the one. It could have gone either way. Like that could have been called a strike, and he would have been. That's it. Like end of the inning. But he took that pitch, it was called a ball, and then he was walked. I mean, that at bat was, what I think impressed me the most about what Alexandria can do. Like, it's not just the hits that he can produce, but just having quality at bats.
Absolutely. Well, moving on, as the World Series is winding down, it is an unfortunate part of our reality right now that COVID cases are ramping up. So now we have owners and team owners specifically who are looking, and executives who are looking to next season, 2021, and bracing themselves for the impact of perhaps fewer games, of perhaps not as many fans in the stands, and a limited capacity. So at this point, we're seeing layoffs, unfortunately, occur team league-wide. What are these owners to do moving forward? There is so much uncertainty. Hopefully, guys, I am hoping that baseball does come back. And of course, we will have games. But this is a major problem, as there is so much that remains unknown.
Yeah, I think because there is so much that remains unknown, there's so many things that can't be done yet because you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, who's to say we don't get a vaccine before the end of the year and it can be distributed to everyone by mid-year next year? We don't know, right? Like, or to whoever wants to take it, right, at this point. But I think that one of the things that teams and leagues just independently are going to have to do is figure out ways that they can generate revenue aside from having fans in the stands. Because I think for the most part, at least the beginning of the season, next season, there is going to still be a limited number of fans allowed in the ballparks. And if not limited, if they're not limited, I think even just fans ourselves, don't really want to be exposed to that unless we have the virus under control. So there's that. And then there's now, scouts are being really hit hard by this. So what happens to all of these men and women who have these jobs? Like, what are they going to do now? And minor league baseball, I think, is obviously going to suffer from this as well. It's hard to think about like what's going to be the new facet of baseball next year, but I think teams need to start thinking of different ways that they can generate revenue to compensate for the loss of fans.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. I think Major League Baseball was going away from scouting as it is. They were trying to cut budgets. They want to be able to go into a centralized system, see a kid through a computer, not really use the eyes. We know that's where the game is going. And that's sad because they bring a lot to the game. It's a really good job and really important to the game of baseball. I think also minor league baseball, a lot of owners wanted to go away with it. Now they have an excuse to do it. They can have guys in a camp, basically the 10 guys you drafted that you wanted in your big league team. Now you have an excuse to develop them in somewhere close to your city. And they're going to change. There's going to be collective bargaining is going to be very interesting on how players deal with this from that side, because they're the only ones that can save this. I think MLB is going to leverage the economy not being great and saying we're going to lose sponsors. We don't have the big companies coming in. And they're going to lose a lot of jobs. So hopefully they have a plan like everyone in corporate America of, yes, we are going to lay off 4,000 people, but in 2 quarters, we're going to hire 5,000 people. So hopefully that's the plan that they have, and not a plan of complete change and changing the way things were done in the past to a new wave. So I really hope that this is just a phase and those jobs are brought in and not the new way of doing things in the MLB, because it's a better way when in reality you're hurting the way that the game is successful.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen throughout this entire postseason how analytics helps and how it hurts. I mean, we saw one of the I forgot who it was. So the Tampa Bay Rays, they had Margot ready to go up to bat, and they sat him and brought in another batter who was batting I think just above the Mendoza line, like we like to say, because it seems analytically like he would have been a better at bat against the pitcher, and he ended up, either he struck out or he was out. While you have Margot, who's one of your hottest hitters, and you sat him. I was like, where does this make sense? Just because you think the numbers make sense, how do you sit one of your hottest hitters? That that's the part that I think you need that human view and that interaction to know what players to sign, et cetera, et cetera. Because the computer will never be able to read that.
Do you think we're at a disadvantage right now in Latin America? Wait till they put the analytics and they take scouts away. My father wouldn't be a Major League Baseball player. He wouldn't. He got seen randomly because he was taking ground balls, and the guy said, I've never seen somebody take ground balls like that. Oh, my God. They weren't even there to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want to put the TrackMan on you, so I think that does help, but I think that there's a lot of guys that I've known that have made it to the big leagues that they weren't the guy that they went to go see, that they just kept playing and playing. Randy Rosera is not in the big leagues if it was for TrackMan and analytics. So there's positives to it, but I think there's also negatives because you need the scout to find someone. That's the baseball side. Also from the business side, I think that if you're looking to grow the game of baseball, you cannot completely cut it off and say we're going to stop growing because of economics. I think that you double down and you keep investing, and then eventually that comes back, because if other leagues are not doing that, you cannot be the only league to do that. So you have to be careful on how you deal with economics, because you do not want to fall behind even more than we already are to the other leagues in professional sports.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's going to do it for our show today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Today, as we said, is an off day for MLB, but the World Series is back mañana and for Game 6. And who knows, maybe the Dodgers will be able to close it out. What do you guys predict really fast? Ozzie, who's going to
I want the Dodgers to close it out because I don't want to go to a Game 7. So I'm hoping the Dodgers. I don't. If they go to a Game 7, the Dodgers might lose.
Ooh.
Put them while they're down. You cannot let the Rays hang around because they're going to beat them. You got to take them out early.
I want Game 7 because it just gives us so much more to talk about.
I feel if they go to Game 7, Dave Roberts will lose.
If
they go to Game 7, they're going to lose. They need to close it out today, tomorrow. He knows that too, and so do the players. You do not want Tampa to hang around.
But you know what? We said it at the beginning of this series. Tampa and Dodgers will be a fun series to watch, and they have not disappointed.
No, they have not. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday with much more on Vida Baseball. Be sure to check in with us on all of our social media platforms for continuing coverage of this 2020 World Series. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.